News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. Okay, Donald Trump's tips tax gambit, the Wall Street Journal editorial. I'll tell you some of their highlights from their editorial today in their paper, but the first thing I want to do is tell you this. I liked the sound of no taxes on tips. My wife was a server for years, and I'm sure she would have appreciated it. I haven't asked her about that, but I'm sure she appreciates it and would support it. Think about it, whether it's the people at the hotel you tip, whether it's the people at a restaurant you tip, which is a massive amount of income and a massive amount of people work in the restaurant industry, right? Service industry. Whether it's tipping your driver or people that pick you up, drop you off, whatever, Uber, Lyft, or some other service, limousine, etc. Or whether it's, there's so many different things people rely on tips for, right? I think it's exciting. I like it, and I like that he unveiled it when he was at Las Vegas. The Culinary Union and there's a lot of unions in that traditionally liberal Democrat city, and they went nuts over this. And the union leaders are all saying you got to vote for Biden, vote for Biden, vote for Biden, but they're going to vote for Trump if he's going to do that. So they went wild over that, and I think it's a pretty novel and cool idea. When I was I went to one of the Mi Cocina restaurants, and I won't mention them again unless they pay me. But it was a nice lady. We were chatting for a minute. She got me my stuff that we ordered over the phone, and this was this past weekend. And I said, "Hey, did you hear one of the presidential candidates is not going to tax tips?" She said, "Yes, I did, and I hope he wins." I was like, "Oh, yeah." So she was on the beam, but she liked that. And Trump gives advice to people now, telling them he said it first when he was in Nevada to the folks there, which is a huge deal for them. Oh, you talk about the gambling tables too and everything. I mean, think of the amount of tips that are going into that city and the amount of money. That's a service industry town. Okay, but he also said it in Florida, etc. So this is a part of his platform now. I think it's brilliant. What do you think? Do you like the idea of tips no longer being taxable? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you think this is a good policy? President Trump promising if you elect him in November to no longer tax on tips. And number two, do you think most people would support this idea? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I think most people would, and I think it's a great idea. But now comes the Wall Street Journal, who says in their editorial today that Trump's tax cuts that he did in his first, when he was elected in 2016, those were fantastic. They did more for our economy and for jobs and for corporations and incentivizing companies to move back from stateside from other countries to because of the high corporate tax rates we have. It did more than anything he's ever done for the economy and uplifting us and such. And that's what he needs to focus on. They say this is bad. They say this is going to force the government to then, his government to then turn and look to get taxes somewhere else because this is a big chunk of them, they say. So they say this is not good. I'll share some more with you. I still like the sound of it. I think it's a good idea. Maybe it is not a good idea, but I like it. How about you? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. And do you think this would actually get him a lot more votes? Oh, he says to people, when he shares this at speeches, he says, right on when you fill out your receipt, right on there, what does he say? Vote for Trump because there's no tax on tips. He tells you to do. And somebody did that. I read a news story the other day. Somebody actually did that. Here's the thing, though. Let me tell you something else. If you put on there on your receipt when you sign the tip, vote for Trump because there's no tax on tips, okay? Make sure you tip well. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm apolitical and I can vote and I get that message on my thing and you give me a crappy tip, I ain't going to vote for that person. Most likely. You also might want to Google it if you don't believe me. Because it's true. All right, here we go. Quoting from my highlights of this Wall Street Journal editorial, Trump said, quote, "When I get to office, we're not going to charge taxes on tips. We need to spread the word. Every time you leave a tip for somebody the next 5 months, put it on the receipt." Another carve-out, the Journal says. This is another carve-out that would erode the tax base. Many tips currently go unreported as income, they say. The lost revenue from an exemption is hard to estimate. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, which dislikes most tax cuts, figures the exemption would cost federal government at least $150 billion over 10 years. One problem, they say, workers and many employers will inevitably rearrange their income to exploit the tips advantage. Trump's special treatment would almost certainly lead to entirely new categories of tipped workers, and the narrow tax base would increase the pressure to raise taxes on everyone else. Now, if they adjusted everything to make more of the pay look like tips when it's not, so that people could really be exempt, I would be rabidly against that, and that should be strictly enforced. But, I mean, this is their speculation. It may be true, it may not. I'm still for it as of right now. The irony is that in his first term, they write, Trump's tax reform promoted faster growth and that lift wages for everyone, especially workers at the bottom of the income ladder. By the way, if you vote for Biden, those will be killed. He's going to allow those to expire and do more taxing on us. That tax reform cut personal and corporate tax rates while broadening the corporate tax base in particular, they say. The cut in the corporate tax rate to 21% from 35%, and the move to a largely territorial tax regime ended the corporate inversions of relocating overseas and lured hundreds of billions in capital back to the U.S. So he knows what he's doing, and he did well. He did great for us. They're basically saying workers don't need more tips from hidden from the IRS. They need rising incomes and better job opportunities. I'm gonna ask my sponsor and friend and my CPA, Randy Martin from IRSprob.com, in a few nights about this. We're going to have him on Thursday night at 9:30 to talk to him about this and many other issues coming up. All right. I also want to get into this. I wonder if you think this is a good idea. Los Angeles, they just voted in favor of cell phone bans. Cell phone bans, taking cell phones away from students. You cannot have a cell phone at school anymore. And I want to know if you think that's a good idea. Because some parents are apoplectic about this, saying, what if my student needs to get in touch with me? What if my student's in danger and they need to call 911? I have a strong opinion about that. I'll tell you what I think on that coming up next as well on the Chris Crock Show. On News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. What do you say? Banning cell phones from students, they can't carry it around. They won't have it on their person while they're at school all day. What do you say to that? That's what Los Angeles Unified School District just voted 5-2 to do. So it's official. They're going to do that. They're I believe the largest school district in the country. Second of all, you've got Las Vegas, Clark County Schools, which is Las Vegas. That is the fifth largest district. They too have done this. They're going to start it for 6th to 12th graders. They're going to make you put it in a locked pouch or a non-locking pouch that blocks cell signals starting this fall. Florida, Indiana already have passed laws prohibiting them in classrooms. And so it's a big shock for people in LA to see this happen, but it's good. I think it's fantastic. What do you think? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. One of the biggest reasons why they're having opposition is, guess where it's from? Parents. Parents don't want their children to be banned from cell phones. Really? Boy, these parents bass backwards, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely the worst thing in the world. Parents say they need to be able to reach their children. This is from the Wall Street Journal today. Parents say they need to be able to reach their children in case of an emergency. National poll earlier this year found that only 1/3 of public school parents support a ban on cell phones during the school day. Only 1/3. What have I always said? The reason why in schools that you have the inmates running the silent, kids getting away with everything, is not the teachers. Sure, in many cases, it's the school for not holding people responsible, but no, it's the parents. Because it is a sea of parents that has grown so big over the years who don't want you to hold their children accountable. They have this unrealistic fear that their child's going to be in some school shooting, and it is not realistic in any way, shape, or form. Your child is more likely to be struck and killed by lightning than they are to be in a school shooting. I've looked it up a bunch of times. Look it up yourself. It's very true. So if you're worried about your kid being in a school shooting, you must buy your child a lightning suit. A lightning suit. Some kind of an expensive lightning suit they could wear whenever they walk outside. Therefore, they won't get killed. Because they're going to be more likely to be struck by lightning and killed in that than a school shooting. Hear it again. Your child's more likely to die from getting hit by lightning than to be in a school shooting. Stop acting like it's going to happen. Stop living in fear. And you giving your child permission to have a cell phone 24/7 is you destroying their life. You are their protector. They do not need a cell phone to protect them in the school. Some districts are providing what's called a light phone, which only texts and calls. Why is the school district providing some cell phone thing to call and text? Why? What is this crap? Well, we're going to go halfway and provide you with some stupid device that you're going to trash, break, and lose and drop in a urinal or something. Get out of here. No. Lock it up in a pouch like they do at concerts for some people, which I'm very much against that. I'd have to really like the artist to be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? Some of these comedians don't want it. How much you want to bet most of them are leftists? Do you think Dave Chappelle makes you lock up your pouch in a thing? Your phone in a pouch? I bet you he doesn't. I don't know. What do you think about this? Would you support a cell phone ban at your kid's school? 800-288-WBAP is our number. Maybe you think the safety argument's a good one. I don't. I've already shared with you. But would you support a cell phone ban at your kid's school? And teachers and parents, would you tell me what cell phones do to a child's education? If you're a teacher, school staff, or maybe a parent who wants to share about what you think it does to your child's education. 800-288-WBAP is our number. That's 800-288-9227. Would you support a cell phone ban at your kid's school? And teachers and parents, what do cell phones do to a child's education? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Look, my children went to starting at a certain age, somewhere around 14 maybe, I don't know. We started having them take some classes at our co-op. And the co-op is just like public education in one way. They're in a classroom with a teacher 3 times a week, usually for about an hour. And I can guarantee you there's no cell phone action, no playing around in those classrooms. They don't do that. Now, they don't make classes miserable and your life suck. They're not hitting you like in the Blues Brothers movie with the nun whacking you left and right, as you swear. But there's a respect for the teacher. If you misbehave and you don't change your ways, you're going to be thrown out pretty quickly. And you sure as heck ain't going to be on that phone. So it's not acceptable for my children. Now, granted, they're 17 now and 21, and they're in college. Save my daughter, who is in one of her classes. She's still at math. She still gets tutored from instead of being in a classroom. But no, there's no cell phone action for my kids. No. College is a different story. Whatever the professor says, as we all know, it doesn't mean anything that way. And then they're adults now, so whatever happens is what happens on that. But for a child, this is a great idea to ban cell phones. And the excuse that for an emergency, that's total BS. Total BS. Thomas in Houston, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Thomas.
How you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Pretty well. So I wanted to comment on that.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say, is that it? You're just going to say hi? Go ahead.
No. I just wanted to comment on the thing. I don't mind, and I would like for my children to get the phones taken away from them because they sit there with their earbuds in their ear all day long, and it's accepted nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that the thing that happened in Uvalde when the cops can't show up, and then the children need to be able to contact their parents because the parents may be the ones that actually show up to take care of the business.
Yeah, but let's go over that. As I said, your child's more likely to be struck by lightning and killed than they are to be in a school shooting. So, are you that worried about lightning hitting your kid?
Well, let's say 2-3 years ago when my kids were raised by their mother that was in Carrollton, and they had the Ebola virus come over, everybody was up in arms about that, right?
Well, you're not answering my question. You're deflecting.
I'm not deflecting.
You're bringing up something else. You're bringing up Ebola when I'm not talking about Ebola. So right. You're just not answering the question, and that is, are you just as worried? Are you equally as worried about your kid getting hit and killed by lightning because that's more likely to happen than your son being in a school shooting? Or daughter.
Probably more likely for him to be ran over by an elephant than that also.
Yes, so the point is...
I don't worry about my kids much. I would like...
No, I know.
I agree with them taking away the phones in the school.
Yeah.
But there has to be a safety thinking also.
And that I would bring that to the attention of the school and the school board and make sure the principal and make sure they have a plan for that. But since you're not likely to be in a school shooting at all, as you know, more likely to be hit by lightning, I think that the concern is not something that means they should be able to have phones that are destroying them. Here's where I'll say this. The likelihood of your child being harmed by the cell phone is much greater than the likelihood of your child being in a school shooting. I'm going to say it again. The likelihood of your child being hurt by cell phone usage in school is a lot greater than the likelihood of your child being in a school shooting, period, or any emergency like that, period. All right, Kiki in Cleburne has an opinion on that. That'll be very interesting. Plus, a couple more of your calls. We have two lines open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. That's up next on the Chris Crock Show. And more about what parents are saying, why they disagree with this. I'll share some of their lines from the story in the Wall Street Journal today. Next. News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. LA School District votes in favor of cell phone ban. Others have done it. Clark County, which is Metro Las Vegas, fifth largest one in the country, district, and several others across the country have. And Florida has banned them, and I think Indiana has as well. Other parents, though, say, the Wall Street Journal reports today, they need to be able to reach their children in case of an emergency. A national poll earlier this year found only 1/3 of public school parents support a ban on cell phones during the school day. Boy, are they messing up their kids. Associate research scientist at New York University who researched on this says there's the risk that parents might feel like they're being told what to do. Well, you know what? You are being told what to do. Don't let your kid bring the cell phone to school. Or have them lock it up in a pouch. We're going to provide you the pouches. If you don't like it, too bad. Guess what? As I've been mentioning, your child is a lot more likely to be struck by lightning and die than they are to be in a school shooting. So that's not a realistic. That is not a realistic fear. So I don't mean to be rude, but it's not a realistic fear. Your child is a lot more likely, as you know, statistically, this is insanely true, and you know it, to be harmed by that phone than they ever will be in a school shooting. We have to be truthful about this. 800, and not be emotional in these decisions. it's destroying the classroom environment and the learning abilities. And you know that. And I want to hear from teachers. I want to hear from you too as parents. Would you support a cell phone ban at your kid's school? I sure as heck would. And teachers and parents, what do cell phones do to a child's education? What have you seen it do? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Kiki in Cleburne. By the way, there's 3 lines open. Kiki in Cleburne, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Hi, Kiki.
Hi. I completely agree 100% with banning cell phones in schools. I grew up, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 14, and they would take it away and lock it up and made your parents come get it from you at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day. One school district even made the parents pay a $10 fine to get their child's phone back. Like, they were zero tolerance.
That's
and
great.
I'm not really all that old, but my kids, when they go to school, no, I'm not going to send them with a phone. They're completely distracting, 100% disturbing the classroom, disturbing your child's education. There's no need for it. I mean, maybe if your kid's in an after-school program, so leave it with the coach, call them when you're done. But that's about it. It doesn't keep your kid any safer at all whatsoever. You are putting your kid in a public school system, in a private school system. You already are trusting them with your care and their safety, so let the school be the school. You don't need to be involved in it other than when there's an emergency, you will be contacted. That's why there are emergency contact numbers.
Can you believe that in this survey that they're talking about only 1/3 of public school parents supported a ban on cell phones during the day. Can you believe that? I mean, they know it's harming their child.
I don't want to believe it. I mean, I assume their parents are around my age, so they grew up probably the same way I did. And to think that their child needs this because, what if there's a shooting or something? Like, no, that doesn't happen often. I've been in more tornadoes, floods, and power outages at school.
Yeah.
than I've ever felt danger about a gun.
Are you a teacher?
No.
Okay.
Just a mom.
If I could ask you this, how old are you? Because you're younger, you're saying, which is great. How old are you roughly?
I am 31 years old.
Okay, yeah, that's good. That's young. All right, so I'm glad you had that realistic. So that's what you're talking about. I mean, when did cell phones get introduced? You were, 15, 14 when they started blowing up, or what?
Yes, I had one of those old little Cricket brick phones that was about 2 inches big.
Yes.
T9 was still a thing. You got to push the button like 5 times to get a word out.
Wow. Wow.
I remember, and I was 14, and my mom didn't even really want to get me one, but because of the activities I was in at school, she knew, at some point if we're away at competition, I need to be able to let her know when the bus is getting back at 10 o'clock at night, so she can be there waiting for me. But I've seen in schools friends of mine where they're just texting on their phones all day or taking pictures and leaking videos.
And you know what else? Yes. How many fights are recorded? How many times do kids do things in front of a camera to look cool or badass?
Many.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are so many bad things that go down revolving around cell phones as well. So I totally agree. Oh my gosh, look at this. One idiot board member in LA during the debate of this said it's a civil right to have your cell phone. It's a civil right to have your cell phone. If that's the case, you can stay on your cell phone while the cops are arresting you, and your civil rights are being violated if they take your phone out of your hand. What a joke. Kiki, thanks for your great call tonight. I look forward to your next one.
Absolutely.
Take care. Robert in Mesquite, you're on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, great show, Chris. Glad to hear from you. Listen, I think people don't realize the damage they're doing to their students in the classroom with those cell phones. When I was going to school, if they had a problem, you call the office. They don't go over the PA system and call the student to the office, give them a message. If the student's sick, well, they call home or call whoever the authorized person is, and they can come and get it from school.
Right.
They didn't need a cell phone in there. It's amazing to me how they've forgotten away from that. And they spend their time and they're running what classrooms are for, which is to learn. It's easy to call the school up and have your student paged in the classroom.
Right. I totally agree. And parents are like, well, whatever emergencies happen, I want my son to be safe. A cell phone doesn't save people from a shooter. And the shooter is you're more likely, again, I'll say it over and over again, your child is a lot more likely to die from getting struck by lightning than they are to be in a school shooting. So that's just how the facts are. So unrealistic fears, and your son's not going to be saved or spared by having a cell phone. It's just not going to happen. So
now they've proven that many of the shootings, that the cell phone didn't save their lives.
Yeah,
it only let their parents know they were being killed.
Yes, or where they were in the building or this and that, but that's not something you need to worry about, because with or without the cell phone, your child's going to either live or die if something should happen. So I appreciate your call. Yeah, and I mean, it's just not a realistic fear. And the damage of a child staring at a phone and being interrupted by their class teaching and learning by having a cell phone is a lot more harmful. That's a sure thing. That's not a statistical anomaly. That's a sure thing. In fact, here's one teacher, 8th grade in LA, said students become belligerent when she has to take away their phones. My students will resort to any means necessary to sneak a peek at their phone during class. That time I have spent policing phone use could have been better spent helping students to recover from COVID learning loss. Aha! See? Ed in Mineral Wells. You're on 820 AM and now on FM at 93.3. Hi, Ed.
Yeah, I was just Googling how many people got struck by lightning last year, and there was 20 people who got struck by lightning, but there was 307 school shootings. So how is a kid going to call for help if he does not have his cell phone when there's 307 school shootings happened in last year alone?
You're literally saying that you're counting the amount of people hit by lightning versus the amount of school shootings. The question isn't what are the amount of school shootings.
307.
I didn't ask you that. So you think you have the answer when you actually don't.
I just gave the answer what Google gave me.
No. You're not understanding this. The question isn't. Here, I've got it here. Here we go. I'll read it to you from City Journal. This is my source of many things. The school shooting, because you're answering it, you're coming at it from the wrong angle. Because here's why: you say, "Well, I count how many school shootings last year versus how many lightning strikes." It's not whether or not how many school shootings; it's what are the chances of a specific child in a specific school being in a school shooting versus getting hit by lightning. Statistically, your child is a lot more likely to get hit by lightning than they are to be in a school shooting. The amount of school shootings happening versus how many lightning strikes is not the question. It's the likelihood of your child the likelihood of your child being in a school shooting. Okay? I mean, look at it this way. Do you want me to look at how many cars are in a car accident daily? Does that mean you're going to be in an accident? Does that mean that you're going to get an accident because maybe we'll make up a number of 1,000 car accidents a day? No, it doesn't mean you're going to be one. I have it right here though. Boom. Let me scroll down, and I'll tweet this out in a minute. Boom. Continuing on, here we go. The odds that an American child will die in a mass shooting at a school are nearly 10 million to 1. About the odds of being killed by lightning or of dying in an earthquake. Those are the same odds that an American will die in a mass public shooting like the recent one in Buffalo. Such numbers are no consolation to grieving parents and families in Uvalde and Buffalo, but neither is a frenzy to manipulate these tragedies for ratings and political gain. 10 million to 1, my friend. Now, let me ask you this. What do you think the odds are of a child their education being damaged or harmed because they have a cell phone in their classroom are? You think it's more than 10 million to 1? Ed? Hello, Ed. I guess he's not there. I don't know. Obviously, your odds of your child getting their education harmed by having a cell phone on them in class is extremely high compared to a 1 in 10 million to 1 odds that you're going to be in a school. Your child's going to be in a school shooting. 10 million to 1. I do have to correct myself. It's not more likely to be killed by lightning, but you're just as likely to be killed by lightning or die of an earthquake. So if you're worried about your child being in a school shooting and that's why you don't want to have your child surrender their cell phone, then get your child a lightning suit, because they're just as likely to die by getting hit by lightning, and get yourself some kind of earthquake-proof bubble for your child because they're just as likely to die in an earthquake. Okay? But the odds of your child's education being hurt by having a phone in the classroom is extremely high, and we all know that. Okay, I just tweeted out the article, and producer Garrett, too, says I may have been a little unclear, so I'll repeat it slowly. Okay? Cell phones should be banned in classrooms. Why? Because the odds of your child dying in a school shooting are 10 million to 1. Because people think, I can't let my child surrender their cell phone because there could be a school shooting. Well, the odds of your child dying in a school shooting is 10 million to 1. Those are the same odds as dying or getting hit by lightning and being killed, okay? Or being in an earthquake and being killed. So you literally should fear your child being killed in a school shooting just as much as you would fear your child dying from lightning or an earthquake. Does that now make sense to you? Does that make sense to you, Producer Garrett? Okay. So if you're not seriously worried about your kid dying by being hit by lightning, and if you're not seriously worried about your son or daughter dying in an earthquake, then you should not be seriously worried about your child dying in a school shooting. I think it's reasonable to be concerned. I think it's reasonable to demand that a proper plan of action and safety procedures and safety protocols are being enacted. And as a parent, want to be involved and see what that is, okay? And to train your children, but to create unrealistic fear in them, to allow this to foment in your mind, to allow the media and allow the news and allow the horrible stories we hear about, and I'm not denying any of them, to overtake you is wrong. You should be prepared. You should be realistically prepared. What does realistically prepared be? You should know what the procedures are and know who's in charge and know there's a plan, and you should be aware of what your role is in that. And then after that, you got to let it go. I mean, do you want to live in fear? Do you know the idea of stranger danger? That's a lie too. Did you know that? Do you know what the odds are of your child being abducted by a stranger are? Do you know what the odds of your child being sexually assaulted by a stranger are? They're insanely low. If somebody's going to abduct your child or sexually assault your child, it's going to be somebody that you know. And the more you know about that truth, the more you can protect your kid. And the more you let this crap feed into your mind and control your thoughts and for you to have unrealistic fears, the more you are owned by whoever's making this crap up for whatever reason. You don't think they did that with COVID with us? You don't think they fooled a lot of us with COVID? Why wouldn't you think they would do the same thing with this crap? Don't you know the people that try to go oogie boogie about school shootings all the time, they want to take your guns away from you? You know that. They're the same people who said that COVID was a deadly disease, that had the teachers' unions control the policies that screwed your child out of 2 years of education. And you're going to let them screw you out of sense of peace and safety? You feel me? Stupid white boy talk right there. You got to be realistic. Every time I see these, I'm concerned, horrified, worried, and all this kind of stuff like that too. But you cannot let this crap, and the odds of a cell phone destroying your child's mental health is so much higher and worse, and you know that. But yet you want to sacrifice your child. Listen to this. I guess this is a better way of asking the question. Are you willing to sacrifice your child's mental health and education over an unrealistic fear of a school shooting? How about that? Are you willing to allow your son or daughter to be harmed by a cell phone and their education harmed by a cell phone in order to protect them from an unrealistic fear of being shut up in a school? See that? I think that's what the truth is right there. And I think a sea of parents are worried about this stuff to an unrealistic degree. And it's okay. Now that you know your child's odds of dying in a school shooting is 10 million to 1, And you know how every parent that's truthful knows how harmful cell phones are. As far as social media, as far as every minute of their life being open to being documented or taped, and people bullying people in front with cell phones and etc., doing all sorts of things that are wrong, and distracting your child from learning and stuff. And then you realize it's 10 million to 1 odds of being killed. You got to be realistic. Look, we had horror in Allen not too long ago, right? But that doesn't mean you should think every time you go to Stonebriar Mall or North Park Mall, wherever it is, that you're going to be shot up. Because as horrifying as Allen was, think of how many days at the Galleria, at the Parks Mall, at North Park, at Stonebriar, you name it. Think of how many people have gone for how many days and how many years without a mass shooting going on there. And what do you think the odds are? Has there ever been a mass shooting? And God forbid there has been at Stonebriar. Has there ever been one at North Park? How many years have gone by? How many days? What are the statistics on the chance of you being involved in a mall shooting? Think of all the outdoor malls that I'm not even mentioning. I don't even know 3/4 of them in the Metroplex. There's so many of them. Count the days, count the times, and count the incidences that are, random, violent, sick, wicked, satanic attacks by people mowing us down with their guns. So, how do you want to live? And I am just as guilty as letting these bleepity bleeps make me live in fear. With COVID, I was fooled for, a certain amount of months. I'm embarrassed about now. I mean, it's ridiculous.